Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good day to anyone who sees this video. My name is Megat Sufi Aniq, and today I'm going to answer the 8 questions that is provided in today's assignment. And I'm going to answer every dose of 8 questions in a star technique that is provided by the video. So, the first question is that when you are faced with a problem, what do you do? So, back when I was a sales manager, after I graduated from my degree studies, I have encountered a lot of problems when I work one of those department store. So one of those problems that I encountered was there was a customer who's making a fuss around the department store. So this customer who's making a fuss is causing a lot of discomfort towards the surrounding customers that it was also in the department store, and I knew in that moment that I have to resolve this situation as soon as possible. So what I did is that I confronted that troubled customer, and I asked her what's her problem is, and also in this situation I have to be a good listener to ensure that there was no chaos to be ensued. So I asked her what her problem was, and then I listened to her problem was, and after that I tried to resolve what her problem is, and I tried to grab what she required at the moment, and the problems was resolved immediately. So as the result of this encounter of problem, the customer who I confronted with are very satisfied with how I approaches her, and she even commended the customer service of our department store, and she also said that she would like to recommend our department store to several of her friends in around her neighborhood. So that's the first question. So the second question is that describe a time when you face an unexpected challenge at work. So again, with the story, when I was a sales manager in that same department store, I've encountered a few problems that was very quite unexpected and quite challenging as well. So the problem was there was a time when this worker who's unexpectedly quit his job without any notice and without any explanation whatsoever. So as a result of that particular actions, our department store on that particular day is very short-handed. We have now one lesser worker to handle our department store during that time. So I knew that this problem needs to be resolved as soon as possible before the customers start to pour inside of that in our department store. So what I did is that I go back to my office and I reconstruct the task list of every workers that is available on that day, and then I gather all of the information needed, and I distributed my reconstruction of the task list towards all the workers that is available on that day, so that when the customers start to pour in, all of the workers in the department store has their job to do, and also they can also attend to the customers' need without any commotions or problem arises. So with this, as the result of this action on that day, although we are short-handed, we also managed to attend to every customer's problem that requires our workers' help during that day. So that's the second question. So the third question is that how do you weigh the pros and cons before making a decision? During my time as a student and also as a worker, as a sales manager, I always follow these steps. So the step that I used to follow is that I always analyze and assess the cons first. So when I analyze the cons, I always make sure is the cons will outweigh the pros itself. So if the cons outweigh the pros itself, I will never make the decision, and I will never reconsider it never again, because there was too many cons that will arise firsthand. However, if the pros outweighs the cons, then I will reconsider and also will try the decision itself, because I knew that it is worth it to pursue that decision. So that's the third question. So the next question, which is the fourth question, is that how do you handle a disgruntled or dissatisfied customer? So I previously on the first question I talk about how do I handle a customer who is making a fuss on the department store. So on the fourth question is that is this quite the same situation, which is how to handle disgruntled or dissatisfied customer. So the first things first is that you need to be calm and cool before you approach the customer who is quite in a quite bad mood in particular in this situation. So when you are in a calm and cool mood when you approach the customer, this will sometimes the customer itself will also reflect your behavior as well and will try to act calm and cool as well. So when you finish with this first step, then you ask the customer, so what's your problem was? What do you need help with? So you need to be a good listener in this situation as well. You need to listen what is his or her problem. So when you listen to his or her problem and you know what the problem was, try to resolve that problem as soon as possible. So you resolve as soon as possible and the problem is resolved, then you manage to get the customer very satisfied and everything, and there will be no disgruntled or dissatisfied customer, and the problem will be solved. So I believe that when you act calm and cool, surely the problem will be resolved as quickly as possible. So that's the fourth questions. So the fifth question is that what metrics do you track on a regular basis? How do you use to adjust your approach? So back when I was a sales manager, as a sales manager, you need to track the sales revenue. You need to keep track on how many profits that you make during that week. So if for some reason whatsoever, if the sales revenue were quite low that week, you need to know what is the causes of that problem. You need to assess, you need to analyze, and you need to resolve it as quickly as possible. So during my time when there was a low in sales revenue, it was always the problem with customer service. So when this problem arises, I always confront it with my workers and then try to ask them, so what's your problem was? So what do you need help with? And try to upgrade their customer service so that in the next week following, the problem will never arises for the second time. Okay, so that so in particular, for the fifth question, the metrics that I always track of is the sales revenue. So that's the fifth questions. So the sixth question is that tell me about a time where you had to change your planned course of action at the last moment. How do you handle this type of situations? Again, with my story as a sales manager, I was informed that some of the item that was need to be delivered on our department store cannot be delivered at all because there was some logistic problem of the item. So what I do is that I gathered all of my workers who was working on that particular day or particular week. I tried to inform to them what's the problem is. And the problem was the item were not to be delivered on that day due to logistic problems. So to resolve this issue is that I told my workers to make sure that this particular item will not be sold on that week, and to take out that item from the shelf in order to make sure to let know of the customers who will like to enter our department store to know that the item itself will not be sold this week. So by doing this, the customer will be well informed. So with that being said, if the item will not be delivered, we will not sold the item, so the customer will be well informed. So that's the 6 questions. So the 7 questions is that your manager wants to buy a new software to help increase the team's productivity, and she asks your recommendation. So how do you respond to this? So the first things first is that I will do is that to take into account of the money situation. So what is our company's budget? Is the budget low, or is it over budget, or is the budget good enough to buy ourselves a new productivity software? So when I finish assess with that particular situation, then from there on, I will look into for the productivity software option that meets the money situation requirement. So if the money is if the budget is low, we will try to look for the system software that is meet the budget requirement, etc, etc. So after I have considered a few of the options, I will try to look for 5 productivity software. Then from there on, I will try to narrow it down to 2 or 3 list of options. So from there, I will try to recommend to my manager and to give her which of this software system that will be best suited for our company's product, to increase our company's productivity among the workers. And that's the 7th question. And finally, the last question is, describe a time when you had to solve a problem but didn't have all the necessary information about it beforehand. So what did you do? There was a time that when my supervisor told me that she noticed that the workers' morale in the department store were quite low. So what I did, and I also noticed it as well, that the workers' morale is quite low as well, but we don't know why actually. So what I did is that I also need to resolve this matter as soon as possible, so that we can analyze what is happening with our workers' morale in the department store. So what I did is that I interviewed with every workers on the department store, and asked about them what is their problem actually, what the problem could arises among them. And after I interview with them, I hands out a few survey among the workers as well to find out what the problem was. So after I gather enough information about their well-beings, I give up my findings to my supervisor about my findings, and also recommends to run a team building program in order to increase the morale and our positive mood for the workers in the department store. So as a result of this team building program, we managed to increase the morale of the workers, and in the following weeks, the workers shows a very positive mood, and they are doing their jobs with a very good customer service, and they can attend every customer's problem as well. So that's all. I have answered every 8 questions in a STAR technique. And thank you, madam, for watching this video, and to whoever who watching the video as well. That's all for me.